Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy. Nancy and I are really thrilled right now because joining us on the phone and via Skype is Dr. Janet Lintala. She is the author of the new book that's out that everybody's talking about, The Unprescription for Autism. Dr. Lintala, we're thrilled. Nancy and I were just reading your bio, and
we were tired after reading.
Yeah, we absolutely. We need to take a nap.
Yeah, I said you're a slacker,
yes,
Dr. Lintala.
Because you have an amazing background, and we're going to let you talk about that a little bit, but you're the founder of Autism Health. It's a low-cost center servicing patients from 13 states. You've been appointed by the governor of West Virginia, the State Rehabilitation Council, where you are the secretary. Endless on advisory panel of the Boy Scouts of America, National Disability Awareness Council, adjunct faculty, the National University of Health Sciences, and on, and you're a national speaker. But we want to talk to you a little bit about this book that you've got out, The Unprescription for Autism. And we also want to say out the gate, because we always, our calling card is that Nancy and I are just a couple of autism moms sitting around talking. Well, welcome to our crew, because she is also an autism mom too. And we'll allow you to talk a little bit about that. But let's jump right into the book. What is this book about?
This book is about an area I'm just dying to share with people, and it's about the health challenges that are specific to the autism spectrum. Usually we hear so much, especially if we have a new diagnosis, we need to get into wonderful therapies, speech therapy, occupational therapy, ABA, they're all good. But when we go to the doctor, we're handed pills and medications for some symptoms that are actually signs of underlying health issues that I think are poorly misunderstood. And I'm not anti-prescription, but there are some great non-prescription strategies we can use to support vibrant health on the autism spectrum, and that's what my book is all about.
Absolutely thrilling. And for people who are watching, I know a lot of the questions that come up are, is there science behind this? Is this evidence-based? So talk a little bit about that, because there is science behind it, correct?
Yes, and actually the research has been exploding the last 20 to 30 years, and a lot of this is evidence-based. So 10 years ago, when I was talking about gut issues on the autism spectrum or enzymes or special diets, people were like, what? You're crazy, we've never heard of that. And now it's really awesome. I can go to PubMed and pull up peer-reviewed journals that have research on all of these issues. And in the back of the book, in the endnotes, I cite about 300 scientific studies from peer-reviewed journals.
And you really feel like prescription drugs are really the last thing we should reach for, that we should look at natural supplements, we should look at diet, and really to treat some of the major issues that some of our kids are struggling with. Can you talk about some of those issues besides, you mentioned gut issues, but you're also talking about, let's get into some of the anxiety and sleep patterns and some of those things.
Sure. Research is showing that folks on the spectrum, children and adults, are more prone to anxiety, depression, and mood disorders. They're more prone to things like inflammation and oxidative stress. They have sensory issues. These things cause dramatic disturbances in their behavior. They can be irritable or even aggressive. The GI issues can keep them from falling asleep all night. And then they're tired, and then we need a stimulant to help them sit up and pay attention in class or in therapy. It's kind of a scary merry-go-round that they get on, because when you leave those health issues unaddressed and you use medications to treat the symptoms, it makes some of those health issues worse, and we have to increase the doses of the medications. And I want to be fair to medications. They're a great tool to have in the toolbox. I didn't write the anti-prescription, okay? But their side effects can enhance and make worse the health issues of the spectrum. So, therapies I include in that toolbox. It's not all about supplements. There are some diets that are helpful. And even the American Academy of Pediatrics says medications shouldn't be the primary focus, when a child first comes in, because they don't treat the core deficits of autism. And so I just want to get back to that statement, and I say, let's dig into the research. If research shows they need some enzymes or some probiotics or certain nutrients, let's try that first. And then a lot of things tend to shake out of the picture. When properly supported, those health issues, those children and adults can begin sleeping on their own, having regular bowel movements, they feel better, so their mood and their aggression settles down. Their cognition is brighter, and they can pay attention in therapy or in class or in a social situation. And then we get a true picture of what's left, and that's when, hey, it might be appropriate to come in with some medication for anxiety or depression.
Right. Doctor, you clearly have a very, your background, is one that people know and can trust you if they were to be bringing their child to you. How do parents find the right kind of doctor that would be really adept at kind of doing these kinds of treatments?
Well, and I'm not knocking conventional doctors.
We understand that.
We need those. But if I'm allowed to mention specific conferences or training or anything like
Sure.
that.
Yes.
Go for it.
I love the doctors that are coming out of the MAPS conferences, and that stands for Medical Academy of Pediatric Special Needs. And they are running wonderful conferences with presentations that they prefer to be science-based or evidence-based, big on the science, which I love, and it's open to medical doctors and osteopaths, chiropractors, naturopaths. It's open to dietitians and therapists, and they're really opening their doors and welcoming everyone and saying, hey, there's a lot of great science these days, and we want to share that with you. And so they run a clinician directory, and their website is, I believe, medmaps.org. And you can go state by state and see if there's a physician in your state or your city that can help you.
No, because I think it's important for parents to go to someone they can trust and know that they're going to be monitoring their children when they take on any of these supplements or any of these treatments.
Yes, and these physicians should be using lab tests and really documenting and being very conservative and careful. I like to tell people I'm an autism mom, and I'm not going to give anything to your child that I wouldn't give to mine. I can't speak for all of those doctors, but when I go to the conferences, the emphasis on science and lab testing is very heavy. And they caution us about, not overdoing things. As an autism parent, I know we get on the internet late at night and we're always, getting into chat rooms or Googling things. And I'm finding that parents try a lot of things on their children that are a little hair-raising, to be honest, at times. And in the book, I kind of caution them against endlessly treating yeast. We feel the need for a lab test to see if it really is yeast. People say, I know my child has yeast because he has dark circles under his eyes. Well, that could be a sign of allergies or just fatigue. And so I love it that the science-based treatments and suggestions are coming forth, and that the research is really rocking and rolling. It's worldwide. There's a lot of explosion in that research in autism.
It's an exciting time. In fact, we'd like to show, you sent us a video, we'd like to show a short video about your book, and we want to point out that the book can be purchased on Amazon and most major booksellers. So we're going to take a look at this video, and then we're going to talk some more with Dr. Lintala. Welcome back. Really wonderful. We're talking with Dr. Janet Lintala, and she is the author, as you just saw, of the book, The Unprescription for Autism. We mentioned to her during a break that earlier in the show, we had a question that came in for one of the other doctors that we have on the show, but she's here and she's willing to take the question. The question, they wrote in and said, sorry for a graphic question, but have you heard of kids pooping out worms? Can you ask the doctor? It happened trying kombucha, which I thought is healthy live probiotics, and they said thank you. And so, Dr. Lintala, you said that you had some insight on that.
Well, I do, and I love fermented cultured drinks like kombucha. And anytime you introduce live cultures, whether it's through just a probiotic or a probiotic drink, there can be a crowding out effect. And we often see an increase in gas or the odor of gas, and there can be what some people call a die-off, where yeast or opportunistic bacteria are crowded out. Now, I do want to say specifically about pooping out worms that I have had several patients bring me samples, in little baggies of things that they thought were worms that their kids pooped out. And I'm glad this particular caller was using something gentle and natural like kombucha, but people are trying these parasite treatments off the internet. And it turns out when we would send off these samples to our lab and ask them to specially look at them under the microscope and determine what they are, that it was actually long strips of intestinal mucosa off of the intestines, and they looked exactly like worms. They looked like parasites. And some people, especially the adults that are getting on and treating themselves, took that as a sign that they were dumping off parasites and their home parasite treatment must have worked. And they would redouble their efforts and take more of these caustic, even natural supplements can be very harsh. And so this particular caller, like I say, was using something very safe, and perhaps, maybe that was some parasitic worms that didn't like the new bacteria and got crowded out. But I just want to caution against treating yourself with things off the internet, that sometimes these worms are actually long strips of mucosa. We've had it happen several times.
Okay, so should this person then go and see their normal pediatrician then to have those looked at? Or what would you recommend at this point?
I would recommend a comprehensive diagnostic stool test at this point, a comprehensive one where they try to approach it in several ways. They can culture it and see what grows out. Typically, parasites are not something that we grow out, so that portion of the test would be under the microscope looking for parasites or eggs. Parasites tend to be cyclical, so typically a stool sample for a parasite test is going to be collected over 3 days to kind of catch that parasite cycle where they shed on certain days but not on other days. And some pediatricians will know how to do that and some won't, but these MAPS doctors certainly will be well versed in how to collect a stool sample and analyze it.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for answering that. Unfortunately, though, we're out of time. We wanted to thank you. We got to have you back on again and talk about being an autism mom. But we want to encourage people to check out the book, The Unprescription for Autism. You can get it on Amazon. You can get it at most major booksellers. And Dr. Lintala, we really want to thank you for putting this information out there so that we can begin to look at treating autism medically in an entirely new light.
Thank you for having me today.
Great to have you.
Thank you so much for being with us.